on myself and for myself, like fixing my mindset so that I wasn't sitting around pitying myself and wondering how this all fell apart, but so that I could just dig in and get it done. And so December, like this time last year, I didn't know what. I had no idea what. I had no clue. I was just like, I'm probably going to have a job next year. Like, I'm not doing this. And then the year turned, and January, things really started picking up and looking good. And I thought, okay, all right, well, here we go. All right, this is cute. February got even cuter. I was like, oh, we rolling. Listen, I thought I was somebody. I am somebody. But I was so excited for myself, right? I was so excited for myself and proud of myself. Clients were coming in, other opportunities were coming my way outside of my business as a doula, but quite a few other projects were coming my way. And then I, started realizing that, like, I started hearing that the grapevine knew about me. And I was like, oh, all right, well, all right, maybe I don't have to worry about getting that job, right? I was like, this is cute. This is real sweet. Then what do we get? We got through February, got to March. March, I was like, oh, I know how this can flow. I had the podcast. I started the podcast with y'all in February. I was like, oh, this is cute. And then the pandemic. And my initial, like, I all but flatlined once I realized, like, just how serious this pandemic was, because, again, things were just starting to turn and work in the way that I envisioned. And so I got excited and was like, all right, my plan is actually coming. And then, comes this act of nature that had the potential to undo everything that I had just spent, a good 3 or 4 months, like, building up confidence in myself and building up the wherewithal to keep pushing through an experience that I wasn't used to and don't really have a blueprint for. I've been creating this blueprint as I go along. And so I was really worried that the pandemic would put an end to that, because I'm very much aware that people still see doulas, or at least this is what I believed. I believed at the time that people still saw doulas. Most people see doulas as a luxury expense, right? And so if we're talking about people being laid off from their jobs because of the pandemic, and if we're talking about people because they're being laid off from their jobs, now they're not making their mortgage payments or their rent payments, or anything else that are absolute necessities to their life. And how I feel, so I don't need to tell y'all that I do believe that doulas are an absolute necessity, but I realize that a lot of people don't. And so I was right back at square one, feeling completely depleted, and like everything was going to be undone, and that I might not be able to come back to it as quickly as I thought. Well, good for me, lucky for me, maybe, I guess we can say. I think more than anything, what it is that people in moments like this, when there's a pandemic that forces people to isolate, that what I found is more than ever, they're looking for services like doulas and therapists and all of the alternatives, right? Reiki and chiropractors, and people are really leaning heavy on those services. And so it took a little bit for me to realize that I would be okay. And okay I have been. We've been more than okay over here. And so I just wanted to share that for anyone who might still be in a space where they're just not sure if their plan makes sense, where they're just not sure if this is really the right thing to do, if you're just not sure that in this moment, now that this has happened, does it make sense to move forward? All I can tell you is tap in. I did not anticipate getting emotional, y'all. I might start crying here in a second. But what I can tell you is tap into your source, because honestly, that is what has carried me this entire time. I have had to listen to my own internal guide in a way, and I've learned, and I very quickly had to tune into it sharp, right? But listening to my own internal guide is what has helped me, that even in those moments where I thought I could lose it all, I was able to stay the course. And so if you have questions or doubts about your ability, or about if the timing is right or whatever, turn within, not to your mama and them, not to, not to all these outside people, because outside people are going to talk to you from their perspective, and they're going to talk to you with their fears and their experiences behind them. All the words and the advice that you get will be coming from those places. 2020 is a year that if you have not learned yet, this is what you need to understand. We were sat down for a reason. I'll repeat, 2020 is the year that we need to realize we were all sat down and still for a reason. And so I'm not going to go into the whole, I'm not one of those people who's going to preach. You know what I hate right now? I cannot stand these people who are these memes and things that come across talking about, you got that $1,200 stimulus, and if you didn't, you were supposed to split that $1,200 up 10 different ways. You were supposed to invest it in, you were supposed to get into investments. You were supposed to start a business. You were supposed to, what else did these people want you to do with that little $1,200? They wanted you to do all types of stuff with that $1,200. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in you should have had XYZ. What I do believe is the time that we've had to sit is the time that we could be spending checking in with ourselves. And we still have this time. It's not over. 2020 is almost over, but honey, the lesson is here. And so you to feel free to check into it at any point in time, right? We're still here. The space is still here. Point being, check in with yourself. Follow your source. Whether your source is your religious source, a God or whatever, whether it's your ancestors, whether it's your spirit guides, whatever it is that you do, but it has to be you. You have to check in with you and follow it. Follow every single inkling. I followed inklings that I thought for sure would just lead me to dumb shit. Real talk. And no, it led to good things. So these are some of the things. So for as worried as I was in March when the pandemic happened, because February was the first month that I met my goal for how many clients I needed to have in a month. And really quickly, I met that goal February, March, April, right away. So I was like, oh, okay, I know I'm good at least through April when the pandemic started. And then just when I started to think to myself, but what are you going to do past April? Because you need to make sure my year, the calendar just filled up. Clients were coming from everywhere. People were sending people that I don't even know were sending people to me. People I've never heard of. People in other states were sending people to me. And so I've been hustling. I've been working, y'all. I've been working. And so little by little, And now, mind you, I was still over here being, paranoid Patty, just trying to hold on and keep things together and keep things straight. Cause that's just a little, I'm a single mom and I've been running a household, on my own now for 13 years. Everything falls on me. And so I get into these, these little mind ruts sometimes where even when things are good, I'm always still preparing for the bad. And so I've had to learn through 2020 how to work through those fears and let those fears be the impetus for what's going to come great, and not allowing it to let me sit and sulk in a pity party, right? I've had to learn very quickly. It's something that I've been working on over the last 4 or 5 years, about boundaries and how to keep myself grounded and not allowing other things, outside factors or outside people, to sway me. Like, I've had to tighten those boundaries up like really quickly in 2020. And now I'm at a place where it's just flowing easy. It's flowing so easy for me. I'd be like, huh, what? No, that don't work for me. I'm sorry. Send me an email. we can talk about it in email. I'm not talking about it in no email. What else has happened? I generated enough business to be able to start on some other projects that I had in mind that I honestly didn't think I would be able to start for another year or two. And these projects are now on the, like, they're happening. As I speak, it's happening. So there's that. Personally, 2020 has been, like I said, I had been going through having a lot of, just the relationship stuff. A lot of it is the boundaries that I wasn't doing what I needed to do. But 2020 has been a huge year in my healing, okay? And again, I was doing the work before, but I was doing the work in bits and pieces because I worked a full-time job and I have, these kids, or they have these schedules, and I need to be places for them and I need to do things for them. And then there's all the stuff that I wanted to do with my life. And then I travel and I do, all of the things. And 2020, because it sat me down and forced me to really look and feel, and I did not have the distractions that I normally had. And I'll just tell you what my distractions are, because I'm not ashamed anymore. And this is no judgment on anybody who does these things, because we all do what it is that we feel is best for our lives, right? But I can tell you one of my biggest distractions, honey, was a brunch every other week. At brunch every other week, happy hours here and there, traveling in and out of town. And not that those things are not good things to do, but what I know, what was happening for myself, is that I was doing those things instead of the work that I knew I should be doing in order to create the life that I intend to live. And so I was talking one way and not following through with it the way that, the way that I should have been doing. I can say that. I wasn't doing what I needed to do. And 2020 and this pandemic sitting me down really forced me to have to look at those things. Because here's what the brunch really is, right? Brunch is not a problem. Happy hour is not a problem. Traveling in and out of town is not the problem. The problem is that I was doing a lot of running away from my own internal issues that, I kept putting aside and not wanting to work on because I felt like I had other things more important to do. Running away from the problems that I had with important people in my life, whether they were family or friends or or coworkers or whomever, it was a lot of running.